Welcome back to the Cuddy and Gavi Show. That's one word, Cuddy and Gavi. We're on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Apple. I want to give a shout out and thanks to Matt Lunsford and Dr. Karen Corcoran, who were our guests the last two shows. Last week was Matt, and the week before was Karen. Matt talked about his journey in life, going from a heroin addict to a owner of rehab centers, and it was an unbelievable story. And Dr. Karen Corcoran thrilled us with wellness at work and all the problems with people coming back to work 5 days a week and the PTSD and all the problems that they're having. Anyway, I want to give a shout out and thank them very much for doing the show. Our Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok and Apple are blowing up with the reels that we're on with those two guys. Well, this week, we were going to start with Aaron Rodgers, but before we get to Aaron Rodgers, the football player, we want to talk about this fugitive from our hometown. Actually, that prison is, 2-3 miles from my personal home out there in Philadelphia, and it's just a crazy story. I mean, they had 500 military and police people looking for this guy for 2 weeks.
And they finally decided to use thermal surveillance for him, and that's when they caught him then with the dogs today. But 2 weeks, and then it's like, I don't know, Governor Shapiro, it's like to take a victory lap. It kind of seems a little crazy, but
I mean, they could have gotten Dog the Bounty Hunter or Rambo or somebody out there. It's Navy SEALs.
But it's the second time. It's the second time from the same prison that there was escape. Remember the last couple of shows ago? You had a person. It's like, I mean, if you live near this prison now, you got to be a little nervous.
Yeah, sure. It's just crazy. I mean, they're taking a victory lap. I watched it before I came over to the podcast studio to address. Last week we had 94,000 listeners. I haven't checked this week. We're just so huge. It's just, I'm sure with Matt and Dr. Karen, we're well over 100. But, anyway, they're taking a victory lap on TV, Governor Shapiro. And I'm like sitting there and saying, wait a second, they probably spent about $30 million looking for this one guy from Brazil who should have never gotten into this country, right? He's an illegal immigrant.
And his sister, and he got help. So it's like the craziest thing is, he got help on the outside. They're all wondering how long can he live like that? This is a guy that's used to living in the jungle. As a friend of mine told me up there, he's in mushroom country by Kennett Square. There's tons of gardens out there. So there's tomato. There's plenty of food. He didn't have to worry about food. Matter of fact, if he wanted a car, he took a car. If he wanted clothes, he took an Eagles thing. If you notice, he wore an Eagles thing. He wanted a gun, he took a gun. I mean,
stole a car.
This guy is like a pro at hide and seek. I mean, he was like.
And I don't understand how they can get up there and proudly talk about. Look, I understand he's a threat. They had to take him out and get him. But 2 weeks, 500 people, $20 million, and they're up there talking about what a great job they did it. What happens if you're up against Kim Jong-un or Chairman X or Putin? This is a guy that lived in a cave in Brazil, okay? And they needed 500 guys to find him.
I'll take this one because I kind of like Shapiro. I think he could be good. As a matter of fact, I told you, I think he could be a dark horse if he wanted to run for president because of the Democrats have nobody, especially he could actually come in there and maybe win. But you know what? If he's taking a victory lap, overtaking this guy, this fugitive from Brazil who's 5 feet tall, 120 pounds, how's he going to do against
Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, or Putin or Putin. Jin. I mean, a victory lap. I mean, that's embarrassing.
And then at the end of the news conference, did you see like the 5 guys, like they killed Osama bin Laden, took a photograph holding this guy, the fugitive. These 5 guys in military gear, like are standing behind him, smiling, holding the rifle the guy stole, and took a picture. And I'm like, really? This is a guy that climbed the wall in a county jail.
2 weeks. 2 weeks he's on the loose. But anyway, at least they got him. At least they got him.
They got him.
Until the next one.
Right, till the next one. So anyway, let's get on to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, one of the great quarterback, a future Hall of Famer. 38 years old. And here we go. He's starting his first game as a New York Jets guy. And boom, what happens, Galvi?
Well, to be a Jets fan, no one really can appreciate what it's like to be a Jets fan. I mean, not only was Aaron Rodgers on Hard Knocks and with the New York Jets, so they did the whole show on HBO. He has a girlfriend who is a model, who is the daughter of the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. And he's just taken to the whole...
How old is she?
She's in her 20s. I would say 26, 27. Aaron Rodgers is 39. Maybe she's 25. And he's taken to the whole New York lifestyle. He's went out there in the flag. And I kind of told my friends, to be a Jets fan, I gave him week 3 he would go down, never thinking 4 plays he's done.
So why do you think in week 3 he would have went down?
Because he's 39 years old.
Yeah, but Tom Brady played till 45.
He did, but you know what? I think where times have changed a little bit is... they used to do an exhibition season. They used to play one game.
Let me ask you, is that AstroTurf or real grass? I mean, I think it's AstroTurf. Yes.
But every other stadium is real grass. And they were complaining about that. They were saying that they should have real grass at this stadium because all it is a football stadium for the 2 teams. But the reason why they don't is because the Giants and Jets both play there. Where if the Eagles and other teams, they're all grass fields now. They think that had something to do with it. I think it has that he doesn't play any preseason games. You go out cold. There's not even one snap, and the next thing you know, and if you saw it, it popped up like a band that just thing. You got to see his Achilles blow up in his calf. It was.
So they paid him $70 million guaranteed for a 2-year contract, right?
Right.
So he gets $70 million. It doesn't matter.
He gets $70 million, and I don't think he's coming back.
So you don't think he recovers from this?
I think he would have recovered if he's 28, 29. At 39 years old, he'll be 40. He's definitely going to lose a step.
Yeah, when you're an NFL quarterback, a split second is your career. The difference between great.
And you got guaranteed money. So it's not like they can cut him. The next thing he could say is, injury. He's getting it anyway. So why come back?
Well, I mean, he had to be wealthy before this. I mean, he's had, a 15, 16-year career in the NFL.
Do you want to play against these guys that are coming at you, 6'5", looking to kill you?
Yeah.
The guy's 30. He's
22 years old, coming out of college, 23.
He has a Super Bowl. What's he proving? They had a mic on one of these rookie quarterbacks this past weekend. It might have been C.J. Stroud. And all of a sudden, a linebacker came in at him, and he looked up, and you heard him on a live mic.
Holy shit!
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah." Did you hear him? He said that.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh my god!" Like he's saying it. So I could see Aaron Rodgers just saying, it's a young man's game,
right? Will the girlfriend stay with him now that he's not a superstar quarterback? I mean, yeah. So let's stay on New York. The Giants had a tough game. I mean, that's our division. Giants, Cowboys. Cowboys, close game. Cowboys only beat them 40-0. Shout out to my son, Charlie, who's a Giants fan. Sorry, Charlie.
But you know what? It's funny. If you're just a New Yorker, and, I relish this because it gives me great satisfaction. Not Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. What gives me satisfaction is the New York Mets, who spent all this money on their free agency. Before the season started, the Mets and Yankees were thinking, could it be a Subway Series? And in July, both teams basically said to their fan base, it's football season. We're going to tank this year, getting rid of our players. Like, let's prepare for the Jets and the Giants, because there was all the hype. Giants made the playoffs last year. Jets are thinking Super Bowl. And now after week 1, I guess it's New York Knicks and the New York Rangers, because football season is over in New York after week 1.
You don't think the Giants have a decent team?
They stink.
How about the backup on the Jets is pretty good. I mean, he
is, and he has no pressure.
They won the game. They won.
My prediction, they will get killed by the Dallas Cowboys this week, the New York Jets. But after that week, this quarterback, Zach Wilson, takes the New York Jets to the playoffs.
Wow.
I think the New York Jets go to the playoffs.
That would be unbelievable.
And it's going to be the story that it's going to be a great story. Look, he was the number 2 pick in the draft.
Right.
So the guy, he has a couple years under his belt, and everybody's talking Aaron Rodgers. And when you don't see what you have behind, this guy's better than like some backup quarterback. He's going to be their quarterback for the future, and he's going to take them to the playoffs. But after he gets killed by Dallas this week, because it's still new to the system.
Dallas.
And he didn't have a chance to really practice.
Right.
He was the number 2. He wasn't taking any snaps.
Now, the Eagles Eagles had a good week. I mean, they have to. You don't think that
we need linebackers? Yeah. We have no linebackers, so we got to get that down. But look, the Eagles have a really tough schedule, but they're going to be there. They're going to be
contender.
Them, Dallas, and San Francisco. There's the 3, and the reason why you have to have the best schedule, because Dallas will. Dallas or San Francisco play, or Philadelphia, one of those 2 are going to eliminate each other for the thing. So you don't want to be in that early game.
Right. And then, of course, we have the story about Deion Sanders. I mean, Deion Sanders, a great football player, now as coach.
Right. Deion Sanders, he becomes a coach at Jackson State, which is a D2 school, all black.
What does D2 mean?
Division 2.
Okay,
it's not in the major. It's not in the major leagues, and he's he's in a all black college that plays in their conference, like Grambling, Texas, Florida A&I, like schools like that, and he took them to winning every game and won the championship, the D2 championship. So Colorado gave him a job, and when he took over the job, he told the players that were already there, we're going to do it my way. And his way is, going to be scrappy. And if you get into a scrap and you do something, then you fight. He would rather you get into a fight and the whole team fights, but we stick together. A lot of people didn't like it. So 87 players left, and he brought 87 new people in.
Can you imagine? How did they even recruit 87 players?
You have a portal system, and after he won game 1, he gave a shout out to the hood. So that way, it's a little message saying to, say in Miami, you don't have to go to Florida or Florida State or Miami. Come out to Colorado. I have you. I'll take care of you. But come out to Colorado. And his son is a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's doing great. He's the story.
His son plays for Colorado.
And his other son's close friend is a two-way player, just like Deion. Plays offense and defense. He's a superstar in both. He could be drafted in both positions, and he'll have to choose for the NFL which one he's going to play.
Right.
And but it's another great.
This is just a great college story, and then of course we have Nebraska. I mean,
that's who lost to.
Yeah,
and the guy put Deion Sanders down, the coach,
right? Because
he thought he abused the portal system.
So for me, because I don't really know the history of Deion Sanders, how did he become a coach? I mean, he was great. He's a Hall of Famer.
He's
right?
a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame, already in the Hall of Fame.
He's already in the Hall.
He's already.
But don't you normally have to be an assistant coach?
Yes, and here's what's so great about his story. He started at the bottom, meaning he started like pee-wee football. He was a coach of his kids, like 10-year-olds. Like he didn't just walk out and say, "I'm Deion Sanders, give me a job." He started with 10-year-olds, then he went up, then he helped out at the high school level. I mean, he paid his dues. I mean, this guy was involved with his son, knew how good his son was, and then said, "You know what? I'll go to Jackson State so my kid could come to Jackson State and be the star quarterback there." And he did so well. He took him to Colorado.
And the rules in college, do they have to sit a year when they
Not anymore. So now they're like free agents.
Oh.
So just because you say you're a player and you sign with Florida State, hey, you can
That's crazy.
Yeah, so your team is constantly going. So if that coach leaves, you're allowed to leave now. Rather than before, the coach could leave, go to the pros and say, see you later. And, the players have to go. So now you have to make sure if you have two quarterbacks on your team and you're not nice to the backup quarterback, he could say, I'm out of here. I don't want to be a backup. And now you don't have him.
Well, it's really exciting that football's back. When we're not in football season, and it just seems forever between football and football. And now that football's back, it's exciting. You have college back, you have the NFL back, and I guess we had soccer, we have a little now baseball, but it's not like football. Everybody loves football.
I'm curious to see how Bud Light does, because they are the NFL corporate sponsor of the NFL is Bud Light.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have a report on Bud Light?
Well, it's been 1 week.
Yeah.
So I would like to see, give it after this week in a Thursday night's game, and you're going to see that I'm telling you.
we're going to get a report on where Bud Light is, because if it doesn't come back if they don't make it during football season, they're done.
Right, I agree.
I think maybe Joe Biden should start drinking Bud Light. If Joe Biden starts drinking Bud Light. So let's talk about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Here we go. I mean, he was at his G20 conference, and it was remarkable. He even said, I need to go to bed right now. In the middle of his speech, his press secretary interrupted him because he was rambling. And now, I think it's 69 or 70% of Democrats say he's too old to run.
Well, I think what Democrats are looking at, and it's kind of frustrating, is when he sits up there and says, I was told, my boss told me that I have to choose these 5 people to call on, and he's looking down and he already knows the questions and he already has the answers. Right. So that's not really how it's supposed to be. I mean, our country has to get to a point that we can all call it out and say, listen, I want someone to ask a question off the cuff. I want to see how he does on his feet, that he's not prepared, that he's not sitting there reading the answer to a question he already knows. And if he doesn't like your question, you're not being chosen. So it's a handpicked thing. It's not, he's trying to make like he took these off the cuff. And I think that's where But
do you really think it matters? Like right now, gas is going up. The inflation numbers today were terrible. Inflation's going back up because gas is part of everything. Now, Joe Biden, and they're trying to defend it today, this $6 billion Iranian deal to let 5 or 6 prisoners out. And now Saudi Arabia is pissed, and gas is going to go higher. They're going to cut the gas back even more.
Right. So Saudi Arabia is pissed. So all they're going to do, it's going to cost the Americans more money at the pump. Besides Saudi Arabia being upset, we are now in a situation where you have Kim Jong-un shaking hands with Putin. You have Iran getting $6 billion. Saudi Arabia is mad at us.
But they're saying the $6 billion, they can control where Iran's spending the money.
But they can't, because where they can do whatever they want with the money, even the Ayatollah said that they can do whatever they want. So it's like he's sitting there saying they can do whatever they want. If they say, okay, it has to be for humanitarian things. All right. So he says, great, I'll do it for hospitals and stuff in there. Meanwhile, the $6 billion that they would have put into their own hospitals,
they will to spend on
to destroy Israel, to destroy Israel, to destroy Saudi Arabia, to do whatever.
So what do you think? What do you think Biden's thinking in this one? Why? I watched that John Kirby, the press secretary for the Pentagon, and he said, well, we're getting 5 Americans home. Well, excuse me, Americans, don't go to Iran. Not a great idea. I mean, if you're over there, you're taking a chance. Isn't it like, don't they tell you if you go to one of these countries and you get caught, But
let's even look at the prisoners, for instance. Our 5 that we have that are Iranian were tried in our courts, found guilty. They are real, assassins.
Right. Bad guys.
They have 5 Americans, Iranian Americans, and I stress that because they were living in Iran. I mean, they were living in Iran, and all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, you know what? We can raise some money." Matter of fact, inflation went up, so it's like what, $1.25 billion each or something,
Right?
And so they take 5. They'll take another. They'll take another 5, another 10.
I mean, I watched.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. I watched. Some stuff on Fox, and they essentially said, this is the blueprint now. It's $1 billion American. Every time they want to get another hostage, it's $1 billion. So it's really a sad thing. But where are we going with this Joe Biden? He has a difficult time giving public.
You think he made any money on this $6 billion? Is Hunter the negotiator?
Oh yeah, Hunter gets a piece of the deal.
Like seriously, he had to come up with a way and say to himself, "There's $6 billion. Isn't there a little juice to wet his beak on something?
Right.
Like, throw me $4 or $5 million.
Right.
No one would even know. $1 million a person."
I mean, but where are we going? A vote for Joe is a vote for Kamala. He has another year and a half in this term, and he's looking for 4 more. And now it looks like the Washington Post and some of the Democrats are rolling over on him. This John Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He is on Fox. CNN won't put him on CNN anymore. He's on Fox News all the time.
Right, because he's blackballed from CNN.
Yeah, why? So because I guess they don't want. He
would win. You know what? I say the craziest thing is I say that there will be no debate if it's Trump or a Republican. Joe Biden will not debate the Republican candidate. There will be no debate for this. They're not.
I agree with you. He's not. How can he debate?
They have nothing to gain. He can't talk right now, so he can't.
Well, first of all, it's an hour and a half on his feet. He
Right.
can't possibly do that. Well, what do you think about this 9/11? He didn't show up at the Pentagon. He's the first American president since 9/11.
Bizarre. It's like
Now, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you're a Democrat, look at me. I mean, why wouldn't the man? We lost all these people in 9/11. Now, I understand he's at the G20, but he is the president of the United States. He can cut it. He can cut it short.
He went to Vietnam. He could have cut Vietnam a day short. G20 wasn't in Vietnam.
Right. He could have cut Vietnam a day short, and he could have respected all the people that died at 9/11. Right. And come back. He
didn't have to go to New York. He could have just gone to Washington, D.C., the Pentagon. Could have just
Pentagon. He could have been in Schwanksville.
Right.
I mean, he's flying on Air Force One. There's a bed there. There's food there. There's chefs there. I mean, it's not like you and I travel on the back of the bus.
That's right. It's great. It's bizarre. And then to hear the White House press secretary say, "Well, after Pearl Harbor, you didn't see presidents going there." It's an embarrassment to this country, the lack of respect. He still hasn't been to East Palestine. You know, the way we're like second class citizens, Americans to him. Everything is for overseas people.
I mean, you remember these things in your life when John Kennedy got shot? Do you remember where you were or what you were doing? I remember when those towers came down.
I wasn't born for John Kennedy. I was like a newbie.
Yeah, me too. But I was born in 57, so
9/11. I remember exactly.
Yeah, I remember George Bush standing on the rubble with the bullhorn, screaming. Where the people said they couldn't hear him, and he said, "Well, the rest of the world's going to hear us now." And he was ready for a fight. He was pissed off. And I don't think that's right of Joe Biden. It's not a Democrat Republican thing. It's an American thing.
It is. I remember I was driving to work, and I was listening to Howard Stern. And Howard Stern said, a plane went into the World Trade Tower. I'm sure it's just a little prop plane. And then all of a sudden they said, no, it wasn't a prop plane. And I just got in, I turned on the television set, and you see this smoke. And then you see that, the second one went. And I was actually a person that I was working with. His father was one of the workers that built the World Trade Towers. And I said, could this thing collapse? And he said, impossible. This thing is built like it can never cut. And then all of a sudden I remember looking at his face when it crumbled. But it's
So staying on New York, we have now the mayor of New York, Mayor Adams, who is saying New York is going broke because of these 110,000 immigrants that have been bused there either through Texas or through the federal government. Now, Texas has taken 7 million immigrants.
Right.
So New York City now is saying they're going to have to cut back services 10 and 15%. They're going to have to raise taxes because these 110,000 immigrants are just ruining everything in New York. And now all these people that wanted the sanctuary cities where their kids can't go on ball fields because there's cots and tents on the ball fields and the gymnasiums are closed. Now they're starting to rebel. They're like, okay, it was okay, but now that it's in my backyard, I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, and the fact that's kind of funny is he thinks that Governor Abbott of Texas, he thinks he's evil for sending these people to him, even though the United States and Biden's administration sent more people to New York than Governor Abbott has through the middle of the night and all the other things by moving them around. And now Adams wants to send these people around the country. So he's complaining about Governor Abbott sending them places, and now he wants to send them. The only difference is they were the sanctuary cities. They were like, come on, we'll feed you. You know, it's like, it's common sense. When someone says to you, and this is the bottom line. If someone says, come to the United States illegally, come across the border, we will feed you, we will clothe you, and you can be here for 7 years. Your court case will not take place for 7 years. And even if you lose, since you've been here for 7 years, there's a really good chance, like 90% chance, you can stay because you've had a good record for 7 years. You'll have a job probably because they're going to try to give them jobs. And so they're in a position right now of you can't just keep asking for money. You got to stay. You got to do something to stop them from coming in because
they're bringing in drugs. They're being unvetted. You have no idea who these people are. I think 146 of them were on the terror watch list.
It took 7 terrorists to take down the 2 World Trade Towers. We're catching terrorists now, and by the way, they're coming in through the border. So why can't they take down something? And you know what? We just watched this Fugitive. We spent, $20 million on this Fugitive?
Chasing this guy for 2 weeks.
All right, so what happens if all of a sudden the governor of Pennsylvania says that $20 million was going to go to the public library or to swimming pools in Philadelphia that we might not be able to open them up in the summertime? The money has to come from somewhere. So now we're spending money besides on the illegal.
So why do you think the federal government is not giving Mayor Adams money? Why isn't the federal government? They created the problem. They're letting the immigrants in.
Because if you give him, you have to
give everybody. You're letting these people.
No, it goes by, if you can give money to divide it by 110,000 people.
Yeah.
Now go and take that same number and multiply it by 7 million in Texas. And we don't have the money.
Or maybe you just start out with a number. Normally, 1 million immigrants come in. Now it's 6 million. So there's a 5 million difference. That's what we're paying for, the extra 5 million. I don't know. They have to.
Why don't you give them a choice and you say, no money to Ukraine because we got to keep the money here, or you can stop the southern border, like fix it, put a wall up, stop that from coming in, and then we have the money that we're spending on illegal immigrants and we can take it to Ukraine. But you can't do both. You can't do both. It's unfair to make a taxpayer that's going to go out to work. You're going to take 40%, 30% of his salary.
More, and if you live in New York City, New York State tax, you're
taking half his salary.
Yeah.
Now I have half the salary. You're saying that you're going to take that money and you're going to now give it to illegal immigrants, give it to Ukraine, but he's not going to get to see his police, his crimes going up. He's looking at all the things are being cut. Because all Adams is saying is, I got to cut this, I got to cut this. And this guy saying, you're taking half my salary. Why should it be cut?
Well, I think everybody's going to move out of New York City. They're going to come down to beautiful Florida, and they're going to move. I think everybody's leaving New York City. I mean, if you look at the tax revenue and everything, they're losing so many people to all these different...
So are we going to have to lie and say that it hasn't been like fantastic weather for the last 2.5 weeks? I haven't seen a cloud.
It's hot, Gabby.
No, it's not. It's 89 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. Little humidity.
We're like right here at the ocean.
I don't want anybody coming, but that's how nice it is.
No, I have a car without air conditioning. It's been very hot. I've been driving them without air conditioning. Anyway, well, we do have Nancy Pelosi, who says she's coming back. What is she, 86 now or 84? She's coming back. She's going to run again.
But did you hear why she's running?
Because her husband needs more money and she needs power and control?
It's power and control, but she said that she has the ability to raise more money, that she could then take that money and give it to the other Democrats that are help them in their races that they're running. And she's going to try to help the crime of San Francisco, even though she was there and San Francisco turned into a shithole under her watch. And I also think that it's unbelievable that we have this law that you can't do insider trading, but it's okay for Congress to have insider trading. The reason why she's running is because Paulie P is making a fortune trading stocks. And why should she give it up? She's not doing it she's doing it to make money in the Pelosi Foundation.
But I mean, think about it. They live in California. Do they commute back to California every week? Is that how?
She does, privately.
Oh, she flies on a private plane.
Yeah.
But even on a private plane, it's still 5 hour plus 3 hour time difference. You're 84 years old. You're doing that.
But they get those breaks. You got to remember they were off a month and a half in the summertime. They're off a month here or there.
Yeah.
Then you don't come back 2 weeks. You stay in there.
But now you're going to have Joe Biden, who's 82. You're going to have Fetterman, who's, lost his brains. You're going to have Dianne Feinstein, who's probably going to run for re-election. Pelosi's now,
Mitch McConnell, he just stares at you and blinks.
And he looks like he's shrinking in front of you. He's losing weight.
Looks like Touche Turtle.
Right. Yeah. How are we going to get out all these problems with all these old people that are doing it? I mean, we're almost ready to retire from being podcast superstars, Well,
Mitt Romney today decided that he's not running. Today.
Did he?
Yeah, he came out today and said he is not going to run for re-election. He's going to let the younger people take over.
That's interesting.
But then he gave a little, then he bashed Biden and Trump on his way out the door, both of them.
But he's probably, 75?
Yeah, he's up there.
So what's he going to do? Go back into private equity? He's going to go back to Bain Capital?
How about just relax and take it easy? And
I don't think that guy's cut from that.
But yeah, right now, and by the way, in California, you have this, this Lee. She's I think a congressperson. She was the one that Governor Newsom promised her that she will be the senator if Dianne Feinstein can't make it to the end of her term, which is, I believe, in 2025. And he reneged on that deal. And he basically said that he's going to let it play out and he's not going to back her. And now it looks like Adam Schiff and Pelosi's going to get their way, which is kind of bullshit because the guy said that he was going to have Lee, who would be the first she would be a black woman senator after Kamala Harris,
Right.
And
it'll be interesting to see what happens because I don't think Dianne Feinstein, as long as, her heart is beating, even if her brain isn't working, is not quitting.
But it's so unfair. I mean, how can she go for another year and a half?
Why can't she? Why can't she? Essentially they want her vote and they're going to tell her.
What happens if she can't talk? What happens if she gets to the point where she ends up with dementia that she'll have or Lewy body
how will
dementia?
You ever know? You'll never know.
Well, when she can't talk. But your body shuts down. My dad, passed away at the very end, like he couldn't talk.
Right. So she has to verbally be able to speak the word I.
But you're going to have John Fetterman speak for her?
Well, did you see him this week, where he was talking about, now the impeachment inquiry for Joe Biden? Fetterman gave, a little humorous, joke about it.
And he's wearing the other governor's face.
I noticed you're wearing a Jesse Waters primetime shirt. Are you auditioning for Jesse Waters?
No, but I'm a fan of his. You know what? If you ask me what anchor person I can relate to. Out of all, they're all.
Well, you and him have the same kind of hair, a lot of hair. He has that hair. Yeah, is that really his hair? You think?
Yeah, but you have your Hannitys and your others people, but I kind of get this guy's humor. He has humor. He's a Philly guy.
He's a Philly guy,
and I think he's spot on a lot of the things he says.
And I do watch The Five once in a while,
and I like his show.
And
Jesse Water show.
And sometimes he says things. I say to myself, this guy's getting canceled. You can't say that. And he says sometimes he crosses the line.
But he's so well liked because you know what? He's relatable because he does say the things that are normal. I mean, we are living in a time where it's like crazy. I mean, you have states that are telling your kids that they're more in charge of your child than you are as a parent. I mean, it's like some of the stuff is bizarre. Did you listen to Senator Kennedy from Louisiana? It's almost embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, those books. So tell our 94,000 plus, probably over 100.
He read this book. It was unbelievable. It's like this.
So explain to our audience what he was reading, why he was reading.
He was reading books that can be in the school library for elementary kids, like 10 years old, 12 years old. And it's a book that they think that's okay to read. And it's about, it could be about guys that are gay and how a guy's going to put lube on and go inside and suck each other off.
And this is 12-year-olds.
12-year-olds, and then
I watched them read it.
I mean, I can't even say it right now. But if you would go and see what he said, word for word, I'm telling you, it's like
people should.
My mom
YouTube
would
that.
be like, I can't even say it, just because.
Well, that brings me to this thing that I pulled out of the New York Post, my source of information, because of this Senator Kennedy. They have this article. It's hard to believe, it's like sex, and we talked about it on a prior show, but now it's in writing. 49% of people in relationships, when they're having intercourse with their significant other, spouse, or whatever, they're dreaming of somebody else. They're not focused on, their partner. They're dreaming of somebody else. But this statistic, which I highlighted, I find
how old are some of the people in this?
This is a study. They studied 2,000 sexually active adults of all ages.
Because if you're in your 70s or 80s, you could be dreaming. You could really be dreaming.
No, I think this is people in committed relationships. 49%. When they're having sex, are thinking about having sex with whatever, a porn star or, their next door neighbor or somebody. But this is an incredible number. I find it hard to believe. I'm going to read right from the thing. A measly 18% of respondents, mostly men, said they were always having an orgasm. Only 18% of men say during intercourse they have an orgasm. Only 15% of women say they have an orgasm. They climax and have an orgasm during sex. Geez, a lot of, I guess in my lifetime, these girls have been, they've been faking. They've been screwing.
But what about men? 18%.
18%.
I would think that would be like 95%.
Right? 18. Yeah. Have they ever heard of premature ejaculation? I mean, that means you climax.
But 90, it should be 95%. And as far as women, I can understand because, after, if they don't, they don't.
Right. What was that movie with Sally or something where she was,
faked,
she faked the orgasm. Well, if women are only 15% are only having.
I can see that sometimes for women, but men,
Right. And 85% aren't having orgasms now. Only 18%. That just seems like a crazy low number.
Well, you want to know something? 2,000 people isn't that many. It depends where who are they asking?
I think, no, they asked 2,000 people across the country, and it was... Actually, the survey was funded by the sex toy industry, because they're saying, right now they're saying, believe it or not, 46% of all people during some sort of sexual contact are using sex toys.
I years ago,
I don't even know where a sex toy store is. What do you buy it online?
No, listen to this. Years ago, I have a client that I was a little friendly with. And I won't mention his name, but he has a company called Doc Johnson's, and they're the largest sex toy manufacturer out there. And I
remember you went to the conventions, right?
Yeah, but I only knew this because when he bought some from me, I got this thing, and I saw it came on like stationery that said Doc Johnson's. And I asked him if he was in like the porn industry, and he told me what he does. And I flew out to his factory It was in like Van Nuys, California. And there were 1,200, 1,300 workers making dildos. And I looked at this, and it was unbelievable. They were taking molds of women's privates.
It's like a real business.
Unbelievable. Like,
right.
I was looking at all these different sizes. I saw a dildo the size of a rocket ship. And I go, who's that for?
I mean, why?
He would say San Francisco, men in San Francisco. I mean, he had a thing. I'm telling you, you name. He told me the average woman has 3 dildos.
Boy, I'm missing out. I missed all this in my life.
I mean, he was telling me, he was showing you stuff where they have suction cups that go onto a refrigerator door. I mean, it was so unbelievable. And I'm looking around this factory. I mean, have you ever seen a factory with 1,300 workers?
No, it's got to be 1 million square feet. I mean, 1,300.
They were stacking them up in warehouses. They were shipping out. I think they were shipping out like something like 100 million pounds of dildos like a week.
Well, I remember being younger, there were all these sex toy stores. The only one I know of is right here on Federal Highway next to, that car dealership.
Because let me ask you, why would you go into a store today? Do you remember the movies that had the little triple X thing?
Yeah.
You know why you don't see them today? Because people can watch it at home.
Right.
So why would you? All you need is Amazon. Go to Amazon. You want to?
They sell it on Amazon.
Oh, come on. Why would you go into a store?
I just want to look at it, read the package. I mean, go in there with your girlfriend. Look at this. Which color do you like?
Maybe that thing, but you're not going into a store today. There used to be a store like Hustler down in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
You go in there and you see the lights.
I remember that place. Yeah. It was on Sample Road
2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember leaving some clubs and I look in there and they're doing business. I pulled in there just to see what was going on.
Right. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean,
we closed the place.
You closed. But this is just an unbelievable, these statistics are unbelievable. And, 2,000 people across America, I think they're kind of, hitting the mark with it. Anyway, what do you got, Gavi? You got anything good there on your sheet? I mean, we're tearing through our time.
I was just, thinking, about our southern border. The more we talk, the more we wait. The flood's coming. New York's complaining. I mean, when does it stop?
Well, they're selling the wall now. Do you see? They're selling.
Explain that to me.
They're selling the wall
at 20 cents on the dollar.
Right. The wall is laying on the ground
that we own.
That we didn't erect. It's the parts of the wall, and all they need to do. They could even get the illegal immigrants if they want to employ them. Tell them that, give them a quick course. This is how you build the wall. Have supervision, and let them put the material that's laying there. Let them put it up.
Well, how about Joe Biden the administration wants them to remain in Texas. So Texas should now hold all these illegals. And Governor Abbott said, I'll just send more buses. And I think the greatest thing, I think Abbott right now should be sending 1,000 buses to New York right now. I would overflood New York until they can't take it anymore, until it's almost at a point where it's that someone has.
You're a problem solver.
I would just send 1,000 buses, and then I'd send 1,000 buses to Philadelphia, 1,000 to Chicago. I would make it where they have to It
has to be cheaper for them. What's a bus cost versus housing these people in Texas?
Well, you would get sponsors. Tell all the people of Texas, I'm going to raise some sponsorship. Put on the bus, put an ad up there.
Now, do you think he gets reelected?
Put Bud Light. Put a Bud Light banner on the thing and send him up there.
Do you think he gets reelected, Abbott?
Yes, he won. He just recently won. I don't think he.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but it's not. How many? Is he? What is it? A 6-year term for governor? I guess.
4-year term.
4-year. All right. So maybe.
Listen, he's doing what he can right now to try to do it. So, I mean, look, they're trying to take away his buoys that were working a little bit. I mean, they want this guy to have 2 hands behind his back and just take it. And he's going to make New York say, uncle. Until
I think they're there.
Until, when Adams says, we're going to lose New York, let him lose it.
Adams, when I watched him speak the other day, he was almost physically crying because his entire term is destroyed.
And Bloomberg came to his defense.
Everybody
when
will.
Bloomberg says to Biden, hey, you got to help out here. I mean, Bloomberg's even...
Well, it's just overwhelming, and they're taking over these 4-star hotels. The cost in New York City is just choking it.
I have a quick subject. You know, we're talking about all the different things. How do you feel about the governor of New Mexico that basically says, I don't give a shit about the Second Amendment, and there's no, I mean, like...
Well, she doesn't live in Longwood Gardens or Longwood Gardens or Chester County, Pennsylvania, where there's a criminal on the...
But could you imagine, and by the way, all the crime is because they didn't prosecute the people that are committing the crimes, and all the law-abiding citizens, they want to take their guns away, so only the criminals can have it. Could you imagine in Pennsylvania if these people didn't have guns in your house right now and they say hunker down?
Well, I imagine there's out where
there's lawsuits already.
Yeah, but where we are out in Chester County, Philadelphia, I mean, it's not Hickville, but I mean...
It's gun country.
It's gun country, and trust me, these people out there have 4, 5, 6 guns, and they're just sitting there
One
with...
guy shot at him 7 times, missed. He's
but they have these guns under their pillows saying, come on, motherfucker, you come in my house, I'm taking you out. And the first shot's right in the balls, baby.
I think some of these young kids were sitting out that night when they're having a friend sleep over and say, come on, we're going to be on the lookout.
Yeah, we're looking for you, baby.
Yeah, that was our game. We used to play play in the woods. They were like going after them.
So I don't sleep at night. So in my house at home, I have cameras. And, at night, when I'm rolling over, I grab my phone and I look at my cameras, wondering if the guy's rolling around in my garage or my house somewhere.
Can you imagine a governor telling you can't have a gun for 30 days?
Well, how's that? That's not defensible. I mean, he can't.
It's the Second Amendment. Even the far left of left is telling her you can't do that. I mean, it's impeachable. You got to just she should be disqualified right from that.
So where are we going with all this? I mean, it's just such a mess.
Well, they want to do it with COVID. They want to take over. They want to.
Are you going to get the next shot?
Are you kidding me? No way. It's going to be like the flu.
I remember you were bald before you got your vaccine, and now you have a full head of hair.
No, I think I lost some hair because of this. I took the first.
Do you feel like you have any side effects from the vaccine?
No, but I took the vaccine. I didn't take any boosters.
Oh, by the way, Gavi's looking great he's on the Ozempic or the Mounjaro, and he's down, 20 pounds 16 pounds. He's looking amazing.
Just doing a little at a time.
No, it's going great. It's going great.
But I just think that, I will not take the booster anymore. I'm done. I'm not taking any. I'm not wearing a mask.
6.
I'm not wearing a mask. When I see someone down here in their car wearing a mask.
By themselves.
Wearing a mask.
I look over at them in their car by themselves wearing a mask, and I'm going, what the fuck is this person thinking about?
What station do you think they're listening to?
I mean, it's unbelievable.
I mean, how do you live your life like that?
It's crazy. And, I still don't know because I read all this stuff. Does the mask work or it doesn't work? Are you supposed to wear one or you're not supposed to wear one? When you're on a plane, you see people with them.
Let me ask you a question. How would you react to this? I'm in my building and I'm coming up from the garage and it stops in the lobby. Someone wants to get in. And it's this woman gets in the elevator. She's wearing a mask, and she says, "I don't ride in the elevator. Anybody that's not wearing a mask."
Well, get out.
Right.
I was in here before you.
And she, being a guy, you're thinking manners, what? But I'm in the elevator first. She's telling me she doesn't ride with an unmasked person, and I'm thinking then get out.
I would say, or she has a choice not to get in.
I just said,
you're not wearing a mask, don't get in the elevator.
I gave, a white lie. I said, listen, I don't have a mask, but I'm not getting out because I have somewhere I have to go. But I didn't get out.
Boy, any one of our 94,000 listeners, I have about 2,000 bottles of sanitary lotion at my house that I'm trying to get rid of. I bought so much of it. Anyway, Gavi, we're up against the clock. Let me just run through this one more time. Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Apple. It's the Cuddy and Gavi Show. One word, Cuddy and Gavi. Well, Gavi, next week, We'll talk. Well, it's like
There'll be a lot going on in 1 week.
it's crazy. We say, what are we going to talk about next week? And then, by Sunday, Monday, you're already like, there's so much stuff.
Just
go over.
think about this. A week ago, Aaron Rodgers was going to take them to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And now Aaron Rodgers is going to have his model girlfriend try to take care of him.
Right. Well, he's going to go to one of these sex toy stores now that he's. All right, folks. Have a great week. We love you all. Thank you.
See ya.
From the devil, I'm only one call away from home. Yeah, I'm so